All right, listen up, y'all.
Greetings, everybody. It's another episode of All Things Education Official. This is your host and educator, Mr. Abdullah. Today, we're going to be discussing the recent debacle, as I like to call it, with the Harvard University legacy admissions lawsuit.
Late tonight, we are learning the Education Department is opening up a civil rights investigation into Harvard and its policy of legacy admissions. You know legacy admissions, right? That's when schools give preferential treatment. They sort of give the edge to people whose families already went to the school. This whole issue of legacy admissions has been very much in the spotlight since the Supreme Court's ruling that struck down affirmative action. Some critics of that decision said essentially, well, okay, how is legacy admissions getting in because of your family allowed? Some advocacy groups say about 3/4 of those legacies who are white would not have gotten in if it wasn't for their status. Spots, they say, would have been given to other applicants otherwise. Harvard tells NBC News in a statement that it is in the process of reviewing its admission policies to make sure they comply with the law. Let me bring in Jake Ward, who is covering this story that is developing tonight for us. And it is an interesting one, Jake, because the Supreme Court striking down this affirmative action policy, huge deal, right? Monster headline. We covered it several weeks ago, end of June, when this happened, because it is significant for the way that, you know, the potential for it to reshape college admissions. There was talk even then of critics of this policy, advocacy groups for students of color, who said, well, wait a second, if you're going to take aim at affirmative action, you got to put legacy admissions in the spotlight, too, right? Talk us through this.
Well, that's right, Hallie. I mean, right, we're in a world in which, in theory, according to the logic of the Supreme Court in their recent decision, you know, admissions are supposed to be even. It should be merit-based and not take anything else into consideration. But as research after research has shown, there is so much more to it than we thought, right? It turns out that being admitted to one of those top 12 or so universities and colleges, whether it's Ivy League colleges or places like Stanford or MIT, makes a tremendous difference to your financial prospects. And it turns out now, as the spotlight is coming in on Harvard, that it is not the world we, or the Supreme Court has been insisting we live in. We are not living in a place where it's all merit-based. It turns out, according to multiple complaints now, that it is far from a simply merit-based system. It has everything to do with prior advantages in life, and that's, of course, what we're looking at tonight.
Typically, I'd like to go just a little quickly, just so I can get you the information. But I think it's very, very important that we not only discuss legacy admissions and its effect on the academic community, but we need to discuss exactly what are legacy admissions. According to U.S. News, legacy admissions, also known as legacy preferences or alumni connections, refers to a boost in a prospective student's odds of admission to a college just because the applicant is related to an alumnus, usually a parent or grandparent. I think we need to touch on that because what we find is that the majority of the schools that have legacy admissions are Ivy League schools and cost a pretty penny. The top 100 universities, and that said 100, let's go with the top 10. You have Princeton University, Harvard University, Columbia, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, better known as MIT, Yale University, Stanford, University of Chicago, University of Pennsylvania, California Institute of Technology, and Johns Hopkins University. These are all some of the top universities. Going further, you got Northwestern University, Duke, Dartmouth, Brown, Vanderbilt, Washington University in St. Louis, Rice University, Cornell, University of Notre Dame. What do these universities all have in common? Well, they are what we would consider to be the whitest of the whitest universities. The tuition alone at Harvard University is $78,028 per year. I want to say that again. That's $78,000 per year. Now, some would say, well, what's the big deal? You said black people don't care about affirmative action. Well, we don't, because we know it doesn't affect us. It was created for us initially, but of course, when they added other groups, primarily white women, to that group, they became the major benefactors. And let's put that $78,000 for Harvard University into perspective. The median household income for Black Americans in 2021 was recorded at $46,400 for a family of four. $46,400. Harvard University is 78,028. We already know, but I'm going to put it out there just for the record. Who is it in our country? What group in our country, two groups in particular, make that sort of income? That would be white Americans and secondly, Asian Americans. As you can see in the clip from NBC, there was a recalibration of conversation and narratives, because now they're saying we need to really investigate these things. And as you can see, a lot of the Asians are now protesting the potential elimination of legacy admissions, because guess what? All legacy admissions is affirmative action for rich people. Affirmative action, according to dictionary.com, is, it sounds exactly like legacy admissions. It's the practice or policy of favoring individuals belonging to groups. Now, this is where it switches, regarded as disadvantaged or subject to discrimination. Well, just take off disadvantaged or subject to discrimination and you have legacy admissions. Let's change that. The practice of policy of favoring individuals belonging to a group regarded as preferential. That is a legacy admission. According to many, many sources, this is going to be a thorn in, let's say, the dominant society's side now. Right now, the education department has opened a civil rights inquiry into Harvard's legacy admission, according to the New York Times. And the inquiry into admissions preference for family of alumni and donors began after the Supreme Court's decision last month limiting affirmative action. The reason why I'm discussing this today is because we need to be fully aware of not only the policies that affect us directly, but the ones that affect us indirectly. Many universities have employed these types of policies. Right now, we're looking at 100 of the top universities, right? They've employed these policies to segregate and separate, let's call it what it is, black students and white students, because the litmus of white supremacy is anti-blackness. How anti-black are you? And there are 75 liberal arts colleges that do practice legacy admission. So these universities, now once the domino begins to fall, you're talking about Harvard University, which is considered number 2 on the legacy admission roster. Once this falls, that means everyone else will begin to fall. It is important that if we have children that are college bound, once again, let me express this because I did this in a past video. Children that are considering going to college, they need to be going into STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or the health field. Any other field, they can potentially gain a 2-year degree or receive training. I'm going to do a video later on talking about the fields and careers that have not yet been created that children under the age of 10 may potentially have an opportunity to be a part of in the future. And once we do that, we need to start looking at college as not just the only option, but not even a viable one in the near future. It is not like the yesteryear when college was an absolute necessity to be successful. Now it's merely a stumbling block, at best a roadblock to starting your life at an earlier age. Once again, this is Mr. Abdullah with another episode of All Things Education Official. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share if you like the videos. If you don't like the videos, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. I look forward to hearing from you. And until the next time, you are dismissed.